Hey everyone, it's Karen from Mayfly Life. Today I'm doing some sewing and I'm going to show you how I made this cute little mannequin pincushion. So stay tuned. Okay, as you can see, I've got a little piece of fabric, a couple of pieces of fabric here. And this is what I'm going to be making my my mannequin pincushion out of. And it measures 5 inches across by 9 inches long. Of course, you're going to have, this is going to be the height and this is going to be the width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them around and face the good side together so that the wrong sides are facing out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go along this whole edge here and I'm going to do my markings. Now what I need to do is I need to make sure it's nice and straight at the top, and I'm going to mark it at 2 inches, mark it at 4 inches, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom here and mark a 1-inch square. Now I've got a quilter's ruler, which are great, but if you don't have one, that's fine. What I'm going to do is from the bottom, I'm going to mark at 1 inch. And then along the bottom here on the side going up, I'm going to mark 1 inch at the inch mark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these marks create a 1-inch square. So now what I've done is I've folded my my rectangle in half and to show the top marks. And what I've done was I've gone to the 2-inch mark, run a diagonal line to the outside corner here and drew a diagonal line, because that's creating the shoulder. Now when I drew this line, I made sure that I didn't go right to the outside corner. I made sure that it was about 1/2 inch away. Okay, so now I'm going to the waist mark. What I'm going to do is, because it's narrower, I'm going to go about 1 inch, do a little mark there from the edge at my mark line, and that's where the waist is going to go. So what I need to do is I need to draw a line and curve it to that particular point. So what I'll do is from the top of the shoulder, I'm just going to curve a line. Doesn't have to be precise. Until I get to that waist portion. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another curved line going along pretty much the same flow as what I'm doing here to create the hip. So basically what you got is quite a buxomy type mannequin with a nice sized hip. And of course this 1-inch square is representing the base. So then what I need to do is cut it out. So holding my fabric together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 1-inch piece and I'm going to cut until I get to the corner. Now you want to be careful because you don't want to overcut, but you want to cut through all 4 layers. Okay. And now I'm going to cut the hip and the waistline. So you're just going to And it doesn't matter if you're not exactly on the line. You're just, this is a part that you're not going to see. And you're just going to cut around until you curve around and then go up the shoulder to the neckline. And there we have it. Now, before I start doing anything, what I have to do is I have to create my base. So from here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be joining these squares and sewing. I'm going to be joining them together and joining them to form my base. So let's get going on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put right sides together, form the corners of that square that I did at the base, and I'm going to sew along this edge. Now I'm going to do a short stitch because you want it to be nice and strong, so that when you stuff it, it's not gonna split up. And I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to back tack it so that it's nice and strong. Clip that off. Clip that. And I'll go and do the other corner. So I'm basically forming a box. Okay, as you can see, so that when it's turned out, it's going to look like this, and you've got those really nice sharp corners. Okay, put my foot down, give it a quick back tack. Okay, cut that off. And you want to try and cut your strings shorter, so that when you're sewing, sometimes the feed dogs will pick up on the loose threads, and boy, it'll cause a mess, because I've had that happen to me several times as a new sewer. So, okay. And clip that off. Okay, so that I've got them sewn together, I've got the wrong sides facing out. What I'm going to do is I need to make sure that when I'm going to sew around the outside edge, I need to put right sides together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this in so that the right sides are together, and I'm going to line up the seams, because you want it to be nice and crisp. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a pin in there, just in the corner, just to make sure that it stays put. And you want to marry the seams together. Make sure that they're lining up really well. And I'm going to start sewing about 1/4 inch away from the corner, right from the corner, from the first corner, because what I got to do is I got to leave a gap so that I can stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here and leave about like I said, about 1/4 of an inch from the exact corner, and then you just continue with your sewing. So you're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance again, and like I said, I'm going to do about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to back tack to make sure that it's nice and strong while I'm stuffing it and it doesn't break apart. I'm going to remove my pin, and when I get to that corner, I'm going to stop and spin and readjust my my material. But you want to make sure that the needle is pointing down. Okay. And you want to take it nice and slow because you're going to go around corners and curves. But if you find that it's not curving to the way you want it, make sure that the needle is down and just adjust with your foot with the lever and just lift the lever a little bit. We're just going to curve around, continue to adjust the material accordingly so that it's laying nice and even. Okay, because you want to leave a sizable gap, enough of a size that you're going to be able to have a good opening to do all your stuffing with. So that's it. So the sewing is pretty much complete. There will be a little bit of hand sewing because you need to cut, hand sew the base. So now what I'm going to do is just do a couple of little cuts into the curves. So it helps lay the fabric down really well so it lies better just on the curves. And you don't want to go right into your stitch line. You just want to do a little bit along the curve so that your fabric will lay down flatter. Okay, so now we're going to turn it right side out. There. Okay. So now we're going to stuff it, and what you want to do is you want to try and stuff it as much as possible with as much polyfill, which I use. But the thing is that I don't go out and buy. You can go out and get at your toy section or whatever polyfill or for stuffed animals and so forth. But what I found was so much cheaper, and I commented it in my last video. Go out and buy a polyfill pillow. It was only $4.73 for a huge jumbo stuffed pillow. And it's so much cheaper than going out and buying toy stuffing, because basically they are the same. So that's what you would do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply stuff. Do it a little bit at a time. I grab my bag here. Do a little bit at a time, and what you want to do is you want to get it all the way to the top. And you just keep stuffing. And what I do is I use a skewer to push everything up. And you want it right to the top. and you want to get it as tight and as much polyfill as you can. So I'll continue to stuff this. Just continue to fill. And stuff. I'll bring you back once I'm done. Okay, so now I've stuffed this completely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a rough sew. This is going to be hand sewed. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go along the edge of the seam, just hiding that thread. And I'm just going to over sew the hole. I mean, you're not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you want, if you're going to be selling these or whatever, if that's what you decide you want to do, you can do a ladder stitch or some sort of blind stitch. I'm just going to close it shut, just leaving a small gap for me to put a small dowel. I've used in the past, I've used small dowels for my last one that I did, pin cushion that I did. And this time I'm going to use a bamboo skewer, which I've got tons of because I use them a lot of times. I use them for my tomato steaks. So I'm going to use a bamboo skewer as my pole. Okay, as you can see, I'm finishing off my stitches, and I've inserted my pole. I've just got maybe, you know, it doesn't have to go all the way to the neck. I got it to probably about the waist or whatever, just a little bit higher. So now what I'm doing is I'm tying it off. I'm doing my last couple of stitches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to tie this off, knot it, and then what I'm going to do is I'll actually use a little bit of hot glue, or you could use fabric glue, it doesn't really matter, and snip that off. And what you can do is you can use a little bit of fabric glue just around the edge to keep that in place so that the pole is not moving around on you. Doesn't really matter. It's going to dry clear, so you're not going to see it. And plus two, it's the underside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cute little votive candle holder that I've got here, and I'm going to go dead center and squirt a bunch of glue at the bottom, right in the center. And it's, like I said, it's going to get covered up as well. Or you can use air dry clay to hold it down or whatever. You can use a clay pot with some oasis in it. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever your imagination gives you. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the center and just hold it for a bit until it sets. I added my supply, some of my supply actually, of buttons, and it's like I said, you can add just about anything. So there's one other thing that I need to do, and that is to embellish the top with a little bead. And I am going to take a pin, put it through, push it down, and I added a little bit of glue to top it off. Looks cute. You can embellish it more. You can, if you want, you can add a little bit of lace If you'd like, this doesn't actually go with it. It's a white. I've got other laces, but you know, you get the general idea. So if you want to just leave it plain, just simple like that, that's good as well. Thanks for joining me. Catch you in the next one.